countries and different states.
People, soul to soul. Only on Clear Source Radio.
Hey guys, happy Tuesday. This is Tiffany H. Lewis, only on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Clear Source Radio. How's everyone doing tonight? I hope you're doing okay. So let me start off by saying today's show is titled, oh goodness, I don't even remember what I titled it, but basically the title is something to the effect of Live Like You Were Dying. So now, if you know anything about Tim McGraw, you'd realize that he made a song called Live Like You Were Dying. And the point of the story is I'd like to share with you a very personal experience that's, a happenings going on around me right this second in life, and how that has changed my outlook, if at all. So I'm just going to dive right in. So let's start with this. So I would say 6 or 7 days ago, and for those of you that don't know the little bit of the back history here, I went to Hawaii for a few weeks, and I came back sick. But then, like, other friends of mine started getting sick who lived in different countries and different states and things like that. So we thought that it was this airborne version of some, like I said, version of some flu or something. No doctor had any explanation. What I can say is that there were 3 of us. I live in Texas, one lived in North Carolina, and one lived in another country altogether. We all got sick on approximately the same day. We all spent the next approximately 2 months in bed. And then one day, our symptoms subsided, or so it seemed. So let's just hypothetically say I've been out of bed and up and moving around and finally working again and doing all the things that I was not able to do while I was so sick. And please note that every one of the doctors diagnosed each one of us, like I said, in other states and other countries, and none of which have ever met each other. We've never met each other, any of us. And that's just 3 cases. That's just our 3 cases that I'm going to discuss right now. I'm sure millions of other people in the world caught this strange, strain of whatever in the world was going on. That wasn't the flu, it wasn't strep throat, it wasn't bacterial, it wasn't, viral. Nobody knows. But the common sense answer is that it was airborne. We all caught it around the same time, and we all had similar symptoms. Now, most of those symptoms turned into me personally getting diagnosed at least by 5 different doctors. 5 different doctors, non-related to each other. Did not tell any of them that I had seen other doctors. I came in for a very pure conversation with the doctor. We do blood work, we do lab work, etc., etc., etc. And 5 different doctors in 5 different unassociated places that don't work in the same physician's group or in the same hospital or in the same realm or even in the same city that I live in, for that matter. Because it became very dramatic, so I moved a little further out of the city to go see a doctor to get that 5th opinion. Anyway, we all have or had organ failure. So, but they didn't say which organ. So, everyone's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why haven't I seen you on Facebook in like 2 months? And I mean, like, there are days where I can't even open my eyes, literally, because I'm crying blood and I literally cannot open my eyes. I mean, so anyway, this has been going on for well over 2 months at this point. And, supposedly we all 3, again, around the same time, got better together. But what I'm going to say right now is the 3 of us that got better together. Here's what I know about all 3 of us. My perspective for my personal self is that I said, you know what? I'm done being sick. I'm tired of being given days to live. I'm tired of living like this, and I am not going to die hooked up some machine or in a hospital or, bedridden. I'm not going to do this. If I only have days to live, literally, I'm going to get up and I'm going to get out and I'm going to see the world. So, but also please keep in mind that that's what I do every day of my life. So just on my personal story level, again, I got quote unquote better, just like the other two. And one of those two that lived in a different state, but still in the United States, he went home. I'm not going to reveal his information, but it was bad enough that I think he got out of the military and actually went home. It was that bad. And then the third person in another country, who I'm not going to reveal much about, they just supposedly got better one day too. So keeping all of that in mind, let's just pretend for a minute that this is 2 to 4 weeks later. We've all been out of bed for 2 to 4 weeks. Again, never having met each other, never even had a FaceTime chat. These are volunteers we were trying to do a toy drive for those affected by Hurricane Michael. So we've got people in Florida, North Carolina, your northeastern states. We've got people in our western states. We've got people in our southern states. And we're trying to put on these toy drives this year, right? Christmas time. And it got to the point where I can get out of bed for almost 2 months. I can tell you that for a fact. Sorry guys, I was taking a drink. Tonight's drink choice, by the way, is Tito's and Red Bull. I won't lie. I'm not drinking water tonight. I'm drinking alcohol because I feel like it. So whatever. So I spent a month and a half or so in bed, and it killed me because I'm not a quitter. I'm not the quitting type. You tell me I have several days to live, like I'm gonna spite you just for the fact of saying that to me, and go out of my way to naturally and holistically find some kind of treatment that, instead of all the pills that all the doctors gave me to take, which would, cure, help, or ease the pain or whatever, instead of taking all that crap, I, began juicing again, and nothing processed went into my body, whatever. And I lost a lot of weight, like to the point where I probably look anorexic at this point and don't care. It wasn't intentional. It's just that I had to switch everything up. If everything was what caused me to be sick and it was airborne, then it was in everything, in my opinion. So therefore, I cut everything off. I never ingested anything that I didn't prepare myself with, like the vegetables that I literally handpicked at the grocery store. All right, whatever. So one of us moved back home to another place in the United States. And I'm not sure if that person's better or not. We were all three told we were better, but it was this, miraculous idea that we were better. Okay, we come on with these symptoms, hard and strong and very aggressive, very quick symptoms. We are all rapidly diagnosed with the same thing. We don't have an answer for you. It's not this, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. And now you're facing organ failure. You have so many days to live. Okay, so that went on for a couple of months, like a month and a half, 2 months. And then one day, personally, like I said, my personal story is that I just woke up one day and said, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I am not going to die laying in this bed being sick. I'm not the sick girl. I'm not the girl who just lays around and deals with it, or not, because I wasn't dealing with it. I was just completely blowing it off, but I didn't have the energy to even go that far to blow it off. So I was just miserably in bed and could not stay awake. And every time I opened my eyes would start bleeding. Now, the other two people I'm referring to exhibited the same symptoms that I did. And it could be termed as pneumonia. There's a lot of different ways it could be termed based on the symptoms. But most of you listening right now at this point are probably thinking cancer. And, based on test results that all three of us have been given, none of us have been diagnosed with cancer. And that aside, if it is cancer and it was airborne, like I said a few minutes ago, we're not the only 3 people in the world that caught it. We're just the only 3 people in the world that connected with each other randomly out of nowhere for no known reason whatsoever, and have the same thing, same symptoms at the same time, happened on the same time, got better, quote unquote better at the same time. Anyway, so one moves back home to where he was raised to be closer to family. And once I got better and made the decision that I was going to I didn't care how I felt about it. I didn't care how much my body was trying to weigh me down and not let me get out of my bed. I was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm getting up. I'm getting out of bed. And it probably took me 3 days to get to the point where I even put one shoe on, because it hurt so much to move or to get out of bed. Like, even to this day, it's exhausting just literally walking, 25 feet to my left or my right. And I know you can hear it in my voice. It's sort of like an asthma attack in that way, where, this organ failure is causing me, like a lot of hardships, and it's basically impossible to breathe. But I told myself, I'm not going to die like this. I'm just going to get up, get out. All the things I tell everyone else to do. Get up, get out. Stop being depressed. Get out of bed. Just get up and get out. Smell the roses. Go do stuff. So, all that said, okay, a couple months goes by. I am quote unquote better. So are the other 2 people, supposedly. And, I get a phone call one day. But before I tell you what that phone call was about, I'd like to tell you what I did before that. So between the time that I got better and right this moment, I created a hashtag called A Million Reasons to Live. And I believe I'm on day 7. I don't know. I haven't done it yet because today is radio show day. But what I do, I took on a new job, or a side hustle, as some of our youngster listeners might relate with. It's a side hustle. It's a great side hustle, and I love life. I love it. I just love life. I love people. I love being a part of this universe. I love, the different levels and frequencies that we're on. I love everything about everything about everything. But when you're told that you're dying and you have a few days to live, there's 2 ways to take that. A, we were born knowing that we're going to die. So, whoop-de-doo. So, am I supposed to be scared of those words? Because, we're all going to die, first of all. There is no exception. And I can remember when I was younger and I encountered the first death in my family. And I was like, I did not comprehend death, or what death meant. What do you mean they're not coming back? What do you mean? But you have to add an element to that. So I have this, what some people would call an ability and or a gift, and I call a curse. So I always know when someone's about to die, and I know what dying means today. I just didn't realize what that meant at the time. When I was 5 or 6 years old or whatever. Like, I got it, I felt it, but I didn't know there was such a, why can't they come back? It doesn't make sense to a child. So this is me all grown up, and it makes sense to me now. But I've learned a lot more about life and death since then. And it is what it is. We were born. We may or may not have been put on this earth to do something. And whatever our purpose is, either we fulfill it or we don't. Lots of us spend most of our lives seeking for our purpose. Some use religion, spirituality, pray for guidance, pray for, dear Lord, show me why did you put me on this earth, right? And, sometimes it takes years and years and years to find your calling, if you're even lucky enough to ever find your calling. And, if your intentions are to find your soulmate, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take years and years and years and years and years. Then maybe you're lucky enough to get that soulmate. But it's got nothing to do with God, and it's got nothing to do with spirituality. It's got everything to do with the fact of the day that I woke up and I said, I'm getting out of this bed. I attempted to put a shoe on. I tried to tie it. It wore me out. I went back to bed with one shoe on. Day 2, I put a second shoe on. It was just little baby steps. You know what I mean? And day 3, my roommate, she helps me get out of bed. I have both shoes. I have 2 shoes on at this point. They are tied. I have changed. I have taken a nice shower, whatever. I've revitalized my mind and my energy and stuff like that. And I took on this brand new, like I said, quote unquote, side hustle, which is a very legitimate job where you make a lot of money. And I think I touched on that a little bit last week, but I'm not going to touch on it again because you're a competition. So I'm not going to tell you how to make an extra grand a week. But it was something new and unusual for me because this was the same week that that we got our first operational grant. My nonprofit, PFPO, Pens for Pals organization, we got our very first operational grant. So in the same week we get the grant, I began working for this, or as a contractor for a company that pays you very good money to do super simple things, sort of like being someone's, personal whatever. Hey, I need a cup of coffee, but not in a rude way, not in a demanding way. And then they get to choose who they want to go pick up their cup of coffee for them. And then you basically get $20 for delivering a cup of coffee to someone. So there it is. There's the side hustle. I'm not telling you who. I'm leaving it alone because a hack has gone on recently, and I don't want to expose myself or anyone else to any further damage based on that hack that happened. But it was a learning curve too these last few days. But anyway, one day I just woke up, I got out of bed, and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not gonna lay here anymore. Yeah, it hurts. Do I have the energy to get up? No. Like, am I drained? Yeah. Can I breathe? No. No, 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 and no. But my mind, my strengths, my willpower say to me, consciously or subconsciously, there's this little voice in my head that says, get up, get out of bed. A little voice that I don't really listen to because I don't like listening to it because, like I said, I have something that most of you would call a gift that I consider a curse. I know when something's about to happen. I can see it. I can accidentally touch somebody, or somebody can accidentally touch me, and I can tell you every single thing that person has ever done for their whole life. I can walk into any room and tell you everything about everyone in the room. Period. The end. That's all. That's as far as I'm going to, extend on this ability / curse. And I get why you guys think that's a gift, but imagine touching or accidentally being touched by somebody who has done some really crazy evil things, right? Well, now they just put that onto you. They accidentally touched you against your will, and they forced you to feel what they felt when they did that thing, or how they live their life, or how they think, or I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's sort of like a sin eater in a way, except there's no physical, there's no voluntary physical meeting between two people where if I were a sin eater, I would be, some kind of a priestess, and then come to your dying bedside and try to relieve you of your sins, as in I would eat them, just like a sin eater. And all your, well, it's a lot like that, except you don't have to go to some seminary school. It's just something that you're born with or you're not. There's nothing I can do about it, like at all. So it gives me quite an advantage as far as being able to read people and know what's going on before it happens. And, I'm not trying to sound cocky or anything, but I'm not really ever wrong. And it's not like I want that. I didn't ask for that. Anyway, sorry I strayed off to the right for a moment for several moments at this point. But I want to be very specific in every single thing that I say to you tonight. I want you to know every aspect of everything, of every aspect of everything that's going to come out of my lips tonight. So I need you to understand fully exactly what's going on, exactly where it's coming from, exactly where it's leading to, and you know what all the pieces are that comprise of my being. Who am I? What am I? Like, I don't know if you've ever just sat and thought about who you are or what you are, but what I do know is that at the end of the day, if you choose to be buried, what happens between your birth date and your date of death? A dash. That's why there's a poem called The Dash, a very famous poem called The Dash. And even before I was diagnosed with whatever, quote unquote, organ failure, LOL, because what organ? Oh, we don't know. Organs. Oh, now it's plural? Okay, cool. Organs. Organs are shutting down. And I knew that they were way before I was diagnosed with that because, to this day, I still can't get a sentence out without having basically an asthma attack, if it's any relation to those of you that understand what it's like to have an asthma attack. That's basically what it's like for me to breathe every day. So that says to me, the nurse in me says, all right, lungs, liver, kidney, heart. Okay? Those are the organs that I think that they're talking about, but I could be right, I could be wrong, and I don't care either way. The point is that they're shutting down, and I'm literal blood is running from my eyes. Okay, so here is where it takes a turn and gets a bit creepy. And honestly, I probably should have done this on my Friday night show. It's called Decoding the Unknown, and we talk about all kinds of unusual things and symbolism and the Illuminati and, the Gnostics and reptilians and all this really cool stuff that I absolutely love to research and discuss with you guys. And maybe I should have saved that for that show, but, I'm sorry again. Anyway, I don't have a lot of time, to do 2 radio shows a week, especially with my new little quote, side hustle, end quote, which I love. It's great money. It's fun. I get out. I get to meet people. I get basically free drinks and food every single day of my life. People rock in some sense. If you bring somebody food, I have discovered that most people's vulnerability, their most vulnerable state, is when they're hungry. And it took a lot for me to understand and figure that out. To the point where if I was hungry and I didn't even notice it, and I was just really cranky and irritable for no reason, you go through the checklist just like you do with the baby. Do you need to go potty? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Are they wanting to play? Just like a child or just like a puppy. There's only so many things it could possibly be, right? So that, as is life as an adult. So I have determined and discovered that no matter what your age, anybody who's hungry is at their most vulnerable state whatsoever under any condition. So if they opened an app and ordered some food online and they chose you based on whatever algorithms, we could say your picture or your rating or whatever, it doesn't even matter. That's just the world that we live in, where everybody is basically chosen by some rating system, like we're in elementary school getting little report cards to take home and tell mommy. So everything's based on a good rating, and that's cool because you're very much on top of your game at all times. You always give everything 110%. You always go out of your way once you've discovered that anybody's largest vulnerability, whether they're sick or they're old or they're young or whatever, is food. If you order food and you're hungry and that person isn't there within the 21 to 47 minutes that whatever the app says it's going to be there, what are you going to do? You're going to throw a fit. You're going to maybe eat your food. You're not going to waste it because they're going to bring you a second one for free. But, That's not the point. You know, all right, so like I said, I got better for a few weeks. And so much has changed my life in a few months. So much good, so much beauty. Like I said, we got our first operational grant that I didn't even apply for. I literally try to fundraise every day and grant write every day. And, you know, it kills me because I don't have the energy for it. We're trying to make a documentary about, you know, sex trafficking and some of the things that I'm involved in that you'll never know about because I don't tell anybody. Like, literally, not even my own family knows what all I'm involved in as far as rescuing and, you know, disasters and natural disasters or whatever is concerned. Everybody thinks PFPO, Pens for Pals, is just a system where I write me and, you know, a bajillion other volunteers write you letters to prevent one from taking their own life by the hand of suicide. But that's not even close to what we do. That is what started it. That's why it has that name. That is exactly why it has that name. So you don't expect a company called Pens for Pals to be doing rescues of little children that have been sex trafficked every time a hurricane hits. You don't even expect us to do disaster relief and or control and or sustenance and or rebuild when a hurricane or a natural disaster happens. You guys all think I just sit here with a pen and paper and me and my volunteers and I just sit here with pens and papers, and don't get me wrong, I get lots of cool pens and papers, and if you ever get bored and you just want to like spend $2 online doing a good deed, send me pens. I love glitter pens, I love gel pens. I'll share them with my closest volunteers, and we will definitely continue to write letters. Everybody, every week, at least 100 letters go out that are handwritten every single week to this day for going on 3 years now. We are partnered with the Yellow Ribbon, and we, again, like I said, assist in trying to prevent suicide. Now, I can't say that there's a difference between suicide and online suicide, except for the unfortunate truth that I was forced to watch it. So I don't like that. But that's what started Pens for Pals. That's where we came from. And here we are, 3 years later. And I always knew it would take 3 years to get our very first grant, because that's, if you have a nonprofit or you dive into these nonprofit groups, you learn very quickly that you mean nothing to anybody until you've at least established your 3-year good rating by the, BBB, Better Business Bureau. And we finally got our acknowledgement, and then all of a sudden the grant check came in. And I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody was playing a joke on me, but whatever it was, it is what it is. And, as a nonprofit, you fork out 10 to 20 grand a year just to stay a nonprofit. Let's not even go there with taxes. Okay, so you need a side hustle because you're putting all this out there. You're grant writing all day. You're putting it out into the universe. You are doing this and doing this and doing this for everyone, for everyone, for everyone. Never doing anything yourself. There's no self-care involved with this because, me, I'm trying to save the world. And I know that sounds crazy. And I'm only laughing because, there's a famous quote that says, if you're actually crazy enough to believe that you can change the world, then you will. Okay, well, that's me. If that makes me crazy, then I'm crazy. I am crazy enough to believe that I can change the world. Not only that, but I already have. And that's cool. I'm not bragging about it. All I'm saying is that if I can do it, you can do it. If I can wake up one day and get up and just push myself to decide to get up, even though it took 3 days to literally stand up one shoelace at a time, by that third day I was up and I was at it. I had figured out a little side hustle, and now I'm making like buku dollars, doing this little side hustle. But, back to the point of the story, the other two people, I'm not real sure, what's going on with them, but I can tell you what that kind of news did to me. So back to the title, live like you were dying, right? Tim McGraw says, what would you do if you got that kind of news? I would go skydiving, Rocky Mountain climbing, ride a bull named Fu Manchu. I don't know the words, or the lyrics, but I know that those are some of them. And he ends his song saying, I hope someday that you get the chance to live like you were dying. And the crazy part is that we're all dying. We're always dying, guys. None of us are going to live forever, no matter how many vampires are listening right now, or whatever deal you've signed with whomever, or whatever you've done to extend your time on this earth, in this frequency, in this realm that we live in right now, assuming you're even on the same frequency as me, which again, that's more of a Friday night Decoding the Unknown show kind of topic. But there are wavelengths, there are frequencies. We're all connected to each other in some way, on some level. It's just energy. Energy goes on and on and on and never dies, right? So even if your body physically died, your energy would go on and on and on, and that's what most people would consider a soul. So, without going into reincarnation or any of that good stuff, I'll save that for Friday's show. But anyway, I made a decision. I got up. I got out of bed. I went out and I did my job that day, which did not include grant writing, for a change, which is very unusual for me because I grant write all year round. And then, ironically, the one grant I didn't even apply for since it's a check. So, I find that funny. It's not relevant, but it is funny. And amazing. It's amazing, too. So, all right. A few weeks goes by, and all three of us are feeling better. Quote, better, end quote. Except one of us has moved back to their hometown where their parents are to be closer to their family. One has made arrangements, for a funeral, and all three have signed a living will and made a living will. All three have said and been told that they need to make final, preparations and decisions and a will, basically. So all three of us made a will, and all three of us made our own separate wills that have nothing to do with each other. And out of the three, I'm the only one that owns a nonprofit, so that was a little bit of a harder decision as far as choosing, what happens when I'm no longer able to make the decision to choose. So we made it now, a month ago, when our state of mind was still clear. And while we were still kind of in denial about it, which I guess I still am to this day, but whatever. Because it's such a vague answer. Organ failure, and then it turns to organs plural. So this organ is making this organ fail, which is making this organ failure. But whatever, what is the cause? Well, my thought is it's airborne. How do three people in three separate cities, states, and countries catch it at the same time? Only that I'm aware of. And then those three of us in the whole wide world connect with each other and all get the same thing at the same time and have the same symptoms for the same amount of time. That never got better. But then a few days ago, probably 7 days ago, like I said, everything got better. I started working my side hustle, and excuse me 1 second. And I made a ton of money, and to this day, I love my side hustle. But 7 days ago, I started a hashtag. It might have been 8 days ago. I started a hashtag called A Million Reasons to Live. Now, you've got to understand that all three of us, including myself, we have made our wills and our final preparations and prepaid for this and prepaid for that and taken care of all of our debt so that nobody is held responsible for it and it doesn't reflect onto our children, okay? Everything we've been saving our whole lives for, we want to make sure that it goes to the right place. So, for instance, I have a tortoise, and he's about 4 years old. Well, he or she. I don't get to know if it's a he or she until he or she is 7 years old. But he or she is going to live for at least 250 years. So I have to pass cash. That's the turtle's name. I have to pass cash down, 5, 6, 7 generations deep. And that's hard to do when you have more than one child. You've got children and you're trying to figure out who loves animals the most and who's really going to follow my true wishes. That if I pass this down to you, you are specifically to choose one of your children that you think would be the most responsible to take care of it until the day they die. And so on and so on and so on for at least 250 years. So that was part of my will. Whatever. Made the will. Did the thing. Got better. Right? Better. I like that word. But really, I hate that word. But, I felt better. We all felt better. Felt great. I made a decision to literally just wake up one day and stop feeling that way. I felt like maybe I was wasting my time and energy. Maybe I was just kind of over exaggerating it, and maybe I was freaking out for no reason, and maybe I just was tired of feeling sick. So I wake up and I decide I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to get up. I applied for this little side hustle job. And I really need to quit calling it a little thing because it's a humongous thing. But, for the sake of this conversation, I decided to get up and get out of bed. And yes, it did take me 3-4 days to get out of bed fully. Started with the shoe. Started with lacing up that shoe. Oh, man, that was so draining. So I went back to bed. The next day, number 2 shoe came on with my roommate's help. The next day, I attempted to stand up. I passed out and I fell right back down. The next day, I was able to take a step. It was baby steps, one step at a time. It took multiple weeks. After a couple of weeks, I was able to get up and move around again and not be in bed anymore and move on with my life and do it, whatever it is that I was put on this earth to do, which I'm not going to really, specifically reveal that because, I was put on this earth to do a lot more than just one thing. I don't fit into a box or a neatly categorized, category or whatever. I was put on this earth to do a lot of things. And, ironically, the name of this show is called Be the Change. And I named it that, 2 years ago? Without knowing I would ever, help anyone change. Without knowing I would ever be the change that the world needed. Okay, and again, not being cocky, not being conceited, not taking credit for anything that wasn't put onto me, however you'd like to term that, aka spirituality, or however you'd like to term that. Okay, it was handed to me. I didn't ask for these things. I did ask for purpose and to know what my purpose was, and I asked for that for years. And it did start with this radio show. It started with this show right here, Be the Change. And if you go back and you look on iHeart and you just listen to some of the previous episodes, you'll see how it kind of built up to where we are right now, literally. And anyway, so 7 days ago, I started a hashtag called #A1,000,000 to live. And with my new little side gig, it allows me to be out and about all day long and get out of bed and get up and smile and make people laugh and go pick up, deliveries basically and drop them off to people. Just in, layman's terms, it's sort of like a pizza driver, but much more personal. So that's fine. And no, there's nothing weird about it, just in case anybody's mind went there. I just chose my words a little bit more double carefully. It's literally pizza or something like that, but it's an app. They have all these apps now, Favor and Amazon delivers, and anyway, they need delivery drivers. So they pay you a ton of money to be whomever's, go get me this, go get me that, please. But it's not a demand or a command. It's $100 to bring you a cup of coffee. Legitimately. So, why wouldn't anybody do that? But, whatever. It did get me out of bed. It got me excited. It got me looking forward to life again. And, the other thing about #A1,000,000 Reasons to Live is that, I'm preaching to the choir here. When I'm hearing myself speak to you in my headphones right now, I'm literally preaching to my own choir inside of my own head. It's like I've always said to people, don't take one single second for granted. We never have enough time. We are not promised tomorrow. We are not promised today. Those of them that say that we are not promised tomorrow, you could die in your sleep. But guess what? You're not promised today either. So who says you're going to be lucky enough to go to sleep? So the idea is you work and you work and you work and you work and you work yourself to death, and you don't really get much sleep, especially if you have children or a puppy that acts like a child, a 2-year-old, a literal 2-year-old puppy. You don't get to sleep much. So every little second of sleep is precious. And then the opportunity, where you get sick and you're bedridden for almost 2 months, that's precious too, because that's your body saying, like, girl, you are done. Lay down. You aren't getting up. Every time I try to get up, I just literally fall right back down. And that's fine. Whatever. Apparently my body needed the rest. But like I've said multiple times in this conversation already, there were 3 of us. So all 3 of us were told maybe we weren't told. Maybe we just thought we were getting better, or we are better, or were better, or whatever. So this is 7 days after round 2 is where I'm going with this story. Round 2. Round 1, get up, make up my mind. I'm going to get up and get out of bed, and I'm going to do things that I tell everyone else to do and not be any level of any type of tier of a hypocrite that could possibly exist. So if I'm telling everybody in the whole wide world to get up and get out of bed and quit being depressed and stop feeling sorry for yourself, well, you better believe I'm doing it too. Because I'm not going to tell you to do something that I'm not going to do myself. I'm not being bossy either. I'm just saying, if I can't do it myself, I would never give anybody the advice to do that. So it's like, the doctors wanted to medicate us, wanted to use us as human guinea pigs and take this and take that and take, you know what? I said, no, I'm not taking these pills. I'm just going to lay here until I just either die or whatever. And then after not taking the pills the whole time, one day I just arose, just like that. And as you've heard me say multiple times, it was a very steady and slow rise. Started with a couple of shoestrings, onto a second shoe, onto pants, onto a shirt, onto a jacket, onto getting literally out of my house. And driving was a whole other problem that we won't even get into. Like, I couldn't even drive for a while there. But everything was cool. So I started this hashtag because I had spent the last, 8 weeks of my life at that point, bedridden, unable to move, okay, without any assistance, completely just paralyzed one day, unable to move, but I feel everything. And I just feel like death. Anybody who's ever been that sick, you know what I'm talking about. It's just a feeling. You just feel like death. It's not that you're like depressed and you don't feel like doing it. You're just so weak. And every time you try to stand up or like have a conversation, you just run out of breath. You're there, but what it does to you when you become that ill, that sick, it made me think about all the times I've lectured, God knows how many people on this earth about, live like you were dying, which again, like I said, is what this show is titled. And it's like, stop taking a single second for granted, because you're not promised a second from now. A lot of people would take that as, you're not promised tomorrow, you could go to sleep tonight and not wake up. Well, I take it like literally 15, 20 steps further. You're literally not promised 1 second from now. Walk out into your front yard, who knows, maybe some crazy bird like crashes into your face and kills you. Like literally, who knows? Nobody knows. Nobody knows anything. It's kind of beautiful not knowing. And for those of us that have the gift / curse. Even if we did know, it's not our place, and it's not my place or my right to tell you what I know, unless you directly ask me to tell you. How long do I have to live? How am I going to die? Blah, 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 blah. Y'all get that. If you're listening to this show right now, then you've probably done your research on Clear Source Radio, and you've realized that most of us are psychic in some way or have some abilities in some way. And each one of our abilities is unique to each one of us. So I am, as far as I know, as far as labels are concerned, I guess I'm psychic. I am extremely sensitive. I am an empath. I am an indigo. And I am that rare personality type, the IMFJ or whatever it is. I don't really care to quote it because, a psychologist wrote that, and it's just a little test that you take online, so whatever. It's the most rare type. And I also know that Melanie, who always gives me the most lovely introduction. Thank you, Mel. Thank you so much. I love that about her. She's always like, here comes Tiffany Lewis. And her show's right before mine. So if you're going to listen to my show, on a side note, go ahead and listen to hers too. She comes on an hour before me. Listen to her and listen to me. And listen to how funny it is that, we don't communicate with each other, yet we always seem to harp on the same topic or something very, very similar. And it's laughable in a good way. It warms my heart, but it's like, dude, stop, telekinetically. Stop doing the same thing that I'm doing. Or maybe it's me because I'm second in place. I need to stop doing whatever it is that she's doing. Maybe I'm tapping into her emotions and whatever it is that she's talking about. It doesn't matter, but it is kind of hilarious. But anyway, the point of all this was I was given so many days to live. I got up. I got out of bed. I decided I wasn't going to be the sick girl, the girl who's laying in bed, ever again. That was it. Even if it killed me, I'd rather it kill me working hard and making a lot of money and knowing that at this point I've paid for, prepaid arrangements and I have my DNR and several copies of it that are notarized and basically every hospital. I have completely told everyone some of the facts that I don't know how much longer I have to live. The end. I've taken care of my obligations. I have paid everything off. I am not going to put any debt on anyone, and I have prepaid for funeral services and how I would like, to be remembered from that day forward. And what I didn't want was a really sad funeral, but I did want a bench so you could just sit there in a graveyard, which I think is one of the most peaceful places on the planet outside of a library. You just sit there and you just kind of take it all in, and it's just, life becomes so much more precious to you when you visit graveyards, often or somewhat often. And hospitals are scary. You're putting your life in someone else's hands, and as an RN, I get to tell you personally from hands-on experience, it's not up to me, and it's not up to the machines. It's not up to anybody. So only thing we have is our choices. You choose to get up and live, right? You live. Well, I chose to add pictures to that. I started going around town in between my deliveries and taking pictures of things that were beautiful, which I've always done. I've just never shared them with the world before in any type of fashion or manner. And I post them publicly every single day on my Facebook page, right? So it's like, okay, so when someone passes, their Facebook page, somebody has the authority to memorialize it, right? It's a memorialized page. And it's like, hey, bro, I'm sorry that you're gone. Rest in peace, whatever. So I kind of outsmarted Facebook in that I wanted to have a leg up on that. So I started to hashtag a million reasons to live. And then I started going around town with my new job that I absolutely love, on top of the other 4 jobs, by the way. I don't even know I have time for all this. Like, I don't even know how it is, like, physically possible to be running on the fumes that I am running on. But it is, because I'm intentionally doing it. I'm not going to lay in bed all day. I don't care how exhausted I am or what you hear or how exhausted I sound. I don't care. I'm not going to sit here and lay in bed and just die. That's not happening. It's not happening. I'm living, and you're supposed to live until you die. So those of us that are stuck in our mundane situations and we go home and get a whatever night's sleep and get up and take the kids to school and you have no passion, right? You do whatever, you come home, you live your mundane, morally correct, boring life. And I didn't mean to say like morally correct, like what I'm saying is immoral. I don't mean it in that way. I just mean that, you know, whatever your belief system is, it's telling you this is right and this is wrong. You're supposed to get up every day and go to work and take the kids to school and come home, make dinner, go to bed, do it all over again the next day. It's like that movie Groundhog Day, right? Bill Murray, I believe. And my message for you guys tonight is that life is so much more than that. When you're given, even though you know from the minute that you're born that you are only have a certain amount of time, and some moronic doctor tries to tell you that you have days to live, and you don't have the energy to get out of bed, and you refuse to be put on, you know, ventilators and machines and things like that, because it's not how you want to be remembered. Because I can tell you from personal experience, those around me that I've loved, specifically my grandma more than anyone, you know, I remember her body on that slab of silver, whatever, at the funeral home. I've also worked in funeral homes. I know how they treat the bodies. I know they freeze them, and they're just bodies. And bodies are just cocoons. We're just shells. Our soul lives on. I mean, call it what you want. Call it a soul. Call it an energy, which, like I said earlier, energy doesn't die. Energy transforms. So, you may be whatever in this lifetime, but that energy keeps going on and on and on and on and on. But anyway, I wasn't going to sit there and lay in bed and just die and just take the news. That wasn't me. In fact, it angered me enough to get up and start pushing through, getting up and working a bajillion times harder than I already was, which is pretty hard to do, you know, considering that I have, oh my gosh, quite honestly, at least 4 jobs at this point, a couple of little side gigs, and mostly a nonprofit. Like I said, there's a documentary in the works. I'm going to have to go out to Vegas and help with that. Sex trafficking is way deep in the works. I've been doing that for a while now. And then we still have the letters to write people to encourage them and tell them that they have a friend, and we are a positive group of volunteers. And that's my everyday life. So for me to take my own advice and get up and get out of bed, no matter how many days it takes to do that, you know, I'm doing that. I'm doing exactly what I'm telling other people to do. I'm not being a hypocrite. I'm not straying from my core beliefs, which are stop feeling sorry for yourself, stop taking the medication, and please, for the love of God, do not mistake what I just said. If you are on mental health medications, please, 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 for the love of God, do not listen to me. I'm not saying get off of those. I'm saying if they put you on, 10 bottles of unnecessary medication that are supposed to help you and you start to feel worse, okay, you need to go back to the doctor because something is wrong. There's this other aspect too. Some of you are spiritual that are listening to this show right now. And God says, you know what? I'll be your medication. You don't need medication. Okay, well, that's not my argument to argue with you. That's not my fight to fight. That's your fight between you and your God. And then you've got your random people like me who just say, get up, get out there and do it. Because when you die, what are you going to be remembered for? Back to that dash for a minute. Your dash is your legacy, It may say born on this day, on this year, died on this day and this year. And it may have a 1-sentence quote that's broken down into 2 parts. so it looks like it takes up the entire headstone or whatever. Some people like a bench. Some people have a light so that you can find your way to them in the dark, and I love those. I think they're awesome. And some people want to be cremated, and some people don't get a choice. It doesn't even matter. What matters is that if I can do it, you can do it. So, you know, as of 7 days ago, I started a hashtag, like I've said multiple times in this show, 1,000,000 Reasons to Live. I encourage you to go onto Facebook and look up Tiffany H. Lewis or Tiffany Lewis Castillo, Castillo. I stand out like a sore thumb because my hair is dyed blue currently at the moment. It's pretty hard not to find me. And I encourage you to watch a couple of videos and look at the pictures, just things that I come across every single day. It's just like stopping and smelling the roses. Because when you're given days to live, you know, me personally, I don't want to give up. I'm going to fight you on that. I am. I'm not going to quit just because someone told me I had days to live. Have I made my final preparations and arrangements? Yes. I paid off my debt and made sure that it wasn't going to put anybody in any odd situation when, because there is no if, but when I move forward from this realm, this frequency, this whatever level we're on, you know, it's not gonna hurt anybody financially or anything like that. So yeah, all that's done. At the same time, when I made that hashtag 1,000,000 Reasons to Live, I didn't know I only had a few days left. So the whole point of this 57 minutes and 16 seconds and counting was to tell you that I was diagnosed again 7 days ago. Before I was diagnosed again, I began the hashtag because I had been in bed for almost 2 months at that point. I got out, I got to start living again. I take pictures and post them publicly, and sometimes I go, you know, ... because, you know, for one example, the other day, Super Bowl Sunday, I met a dog named Radio, and I was like, oh my God, can I take your picture? And this is your dog Radio, and where's your story? And you will see that on my Facebook page. And the girlfriend, she was so cute and so pretty. She had like a black and white dress on, like, goodness, I can't think of the era, but whatever. She was beautiful. And this dog Radio was beautiful. And just to see these two people who may or may not be married or dating or friends or whatever, it doesn't matter. It was just a connection. And then to see that dog and to tell them in less than 5 seconds, you know, here's my card. It's got the hashtag on it. May I take a picture of your dog that you just named Radio, and may I please put that on my 1,000,000 Reasons to Live? Then I get on Facebook, and when I go to make my video or my post, I put ... because radio ... right? See where I'm going with that? So no matter what it is, each one is a reason, because we don't need reasons to live, and we sure don't need reasons to lay in bed. You know, the point is get up and get out and do something with your life, whether it's your calling or not. Do what makes you happy. I can tell you this. I've started drawing again. I've started writing again. Things I never thought I'd ever do again. I've always had this artistic side that I've never embraced, not since I was a teenager, because something took that from me. So back to the title, and then I gotta go. But live like you were dying. For me, that meant going back to my youth, where my happiness was taken from me, and then being told I had days to live, and using that to my advantage to not only rest, but get up, get out of bed. And now with this, like I keep saying, side hustle, this new job, whatever, I make a ton of money, and also, you know, I meet a ton of people, and I listen to their story, and I don't just walk by them. I'm not just living in life anymore. I'm not just walking by people looking at my stupid phone like everybody else in the world is, addicted to the internet. I'm stopping. I am out of time, y'all. So I hope you have a great night. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this message was positive and got through to at least a few of you. And maybe I'll do Decoding the Unknown on Friday. And maybe it'll be next Friday. But either way, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great night. And I'll talk to you next Tuesday. Good night, y'all.
Are you ready to be inspired? Are you ready to make positive changes in your life? Tune in to Be the Change, live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, featuring our heartwarming radio host, Tiffany Lewis. She's an empath, an indigo, and has a new and uplifting message for you. Every week, Tiffany can be heard only on Clear Source Radio, where people inspire people, from our soul to yours. You can get the free app